Protests broke out today in Dhaka, the capital of Bangladesh, after a Bangladeshi Air Force plane crashed into a school campus yesterday. And in Hollywood, Elon Musk has opened his first Tesla diner. Good morning. I'm Corva Coleman from NPR News, and here are today's top stories. Lawyers for Harvard University and the Trump administration faced off in a federal courtroom in Boston yesterday. The Trump administration is seeking to cut off billions of dollars in federal funding from the university. From member station GBH, Kirk Carapezza reports opponents to the cuts to Harvard made their case yesterday.
Inside a packed courtroom, lawyers for Harvard argued the administration's cuts were arbitrary and punished the university under the guise of fighting anti-Semitism. They say the federal government's actions threaten vital research and set a dangerous precedent. Lawyers for the administration countered that federal funding is a privilege, not a right, and said the cuts were tied to outstanding civil rights complaints. Judge Allison Burroughs questioned why funding was pulled wholesale, rather than targeting specific programs or labs. Harvard is pushing for a quick ruling so research can move forward. For NPR News, I'm Kirk Carapezza in Boston.
Protests have broken out today in Bangladesh's capital, Dhaka. That comes after a Bangladeshi Air Force plane crashed into a school campus yesterday. At least 31 people were killed, most of them children. NPR's Amkar Khandekar has more.
Bangladesh military said the Chinese-manufactured F-7 BGI jet experienced a technical malfunction moments after its takeoff on Monday afternoon. It crashed into the Milestone School and College campus in northern Dhaka. Local media quoted officials saying more than 24 students in the college were killed and at least 78 were still receiving treatments for burns. On Tuesday, hundreds of students defied army orders to gather at the college campus, demanding compensation for their families and modernization of the country's military jets. A statement from the office of Bangladesh's interim chief Mohammad Yunus said that authorities were still verifying the victims' identities. Omkar Khandekar, NPR News, New Delhi.
Israeli troops started moving into central Gaza yesterday. NPR's Emily Fang reports it's the first time the Israeli military has entered this part of the enclave since this war started.
Previously, Israeli ground troops were not really active in this area called Deir al-Balach because they were concerned about endangering hostages kidnapped by Hamas in its attack on Israel on October 7th, 2023. But now Israel and Hamas have been negotiating this ceasefire. There's international pressure building from not only U.S. President Trump, but ministers from more than 25 countries that issued a statement yesterday to end the war.
NPR's Emily Fang reporting. Tens of thousands of Palestinians are being told to move out. The United Nations says with this latest Israeli offensive, nearly 88% of Gaza is off limits to civilians. More than 2 million Palestinians are squeezed into just 12% of Gaza. The Pentagon has ordered the withdrawal of U.S. Marines who were deployed to Los Angeles. President Trump sent them in early June to protect immigration officers during protests, some of which were violent. Steve Futterman reports from Los Angeles.
In a statement, Pentagon Chief Spokesman Sean Parnell says the move comes with, as he put it, stability returning to L.A. He praised the Marines for restoring order and upholding the rule of law. From the start, the deployment of the 700 Marines was met with sharp criticism from state and local officials who said they were not necessary and only escalated tensions. L.A. Mayor Karen Bass now says she wants the Marines, along with remaining National Guard troops, removed.
We need all of the troops to return home.
Initially, 4,000 National Guard troops were sent here. Around 2,000 remain. It's estimated it cost $134 million to deploy the Marines and National Guard to L.A. For NPR News, I'm Steve Futterman in Los Angeles.
The Homeland Security Department is getting ready to use 2 U.S. military bases to detain migrants who are in the country illegally. NPR's Tom Bowman has more.
The bases include the National Guard's Camp Atterbury, Indiana, and also the active duty Joint Base McGuire-Dix Lakehurst in New Jersey. And both locations will be used for temporary housing for those who have connections to transnational criminal organizations or criminal drug activity.
NPR's Tom Bowman prepared that report. A letter from the Pentagon says that the migrants in the U.S. illegally will be supervised by officers from Immigration and Customs Enforcement and contractors for the Department of Homeland Security. They won't be guarded by U.S. military members who are in the Defense Department, a separate federal agency. A former detective in Louisville, Kentucky, has been sentenced to 33 months in prison. Brett Hankison was convicted for his role in the deadly police raid in 2020 on the apartment of a black woman who was sleeping. Breonna Taylor was shot and killed. Hankison was convicted last year on federal charges of violating her civil rights. From Louisville Public Media, Roberto Rodan says the sentence was longer than what federal prosecutors had sought.
U.S. District Court Judge Rebecca Grady Jennings said the Justice Department's recommendation that Brett Hankison get just 1 day in jail was inappropriate. Hankison will be on parole for 3 years after he gets out. Attorney Lanita Baker, who represents Breonna Taylor's family, said they feel they got some amount of justice.
We were here today for a just sentence. And while 33 months in prison is not enough, it's more than they were asking for.
Taylor's killing at the hands of police helped fuel racial justice protests in 2020. For NPR News, I'm Roberto Roldan in Louisville.
The National Archives have published thousands of documents relating to the 1968 assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. This follows President Trump's executive order to declassify and release records connected to his murder, as well as the assassinations of former President John F. Kennedy and Senator Robert F. Kennedy. NPR's Elena Moore reports.
It's not immediately clear what new information related to King's assassination will be found in these documents, but Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard says more than 230,000 files are being released. She says that it includes details about the FBI's investigation and James Earl Ray, who was convicted of murdering King. In response, King's family argued that the documents should be viewed within their full historical context, saying that during King's lifetime, he was targeted by federal law enforcement in what his family called a, quote, invasive, predatory, and deeply disturbing disinformation and surveillance campaign. Elena Moore, NPR News, Washington.
Billionaire Elon Musk has now ventured into a new business sector, the restaurant industry. NPR's Bobby Allen reports hundreds of people turned out for the opening of Elon Musk's Tesla diner in Hollywood.
Tesla owners and Musk fans lined up in front of the silver, saucer-shaped diner the billionaire has been planning since 2018. Scott Bankston was eager to try a Tesla burger.
Just wanted to check out the diner. I feel like Tesla always puts out a good product, so we'll see.
The 1950s-inspired diner has supercharger stations for electric vehicles, drive-in movie screens, and Musk's humanoid robots scoop popcorn. Todd Powers came to try the shakes. He's a Tesla owner, but sighed when asked about Musk.
I like his rockets. Well, the cars are great. And, like everybody, he's a mixed bag.
Musk wrote on X that he'd like to open more diners for Tesla, which has seen sales and profits decline since his time in the White House. Bobby Allen, NPR News, Los Angeles.
A new study on dogs takes a look at their TV-watching behavior. NPR's Nate Rott explains the research says a dog's reaction to a TV can say something about their personality.
We all know that all dogs go to heaven, but not all dogs watch TV. The new study in the journal Scientific Reports focuses on dogs that do, surveying 650 dog owners to see what kinds of on-screen visuals and noises dogs reacted to. Jeff Katz, the study's co-author and a professor of psychological sciences at Auburn University, says they found energetic dogs reacted more to other animals.
The other personality characteristic that popped out was if you're an anxious dog and you hear a doorbell, you kind of freak out a little bit.
Katz says he's hoping to do more research to better understand what dogs like to watch. Nate Rott, NPR News.
This is NPR.